In the Gospel of Thomas, there's a saying the church deleted from every version of Scripture they could control. Saying number 83. Jesus said, "The images are visible to humanity, but the light within them is hidden in the image of the Father's light. He will be revealed, but his image is hidden by his light." When the disciples asked what this meant, Jesus pulled them aside and taught them something the church spent 1,500 years trying to erase. Your physical body is a shell. Inside it is another body made entirely of light. And when you learn to activate that light body, you become untouchable to every entity operating in darkness. The Archons cannot perceive you. The demiurge cannot track you. You're invisible to the harvest system, not gone from this reality, just operating at a frequency they cannot reach. The early Gnostic communities knew exactly how to do this. They practiced light body activation as the central technique of spiritual liberation, and they passed the method from teacher to student in secret for 300 years until the church hunted them down and burned every text that described the process. But they didn't get all of them. In 1945, a sealed jar was found in the Egyptian desert containing 52 texts the church never found. And in those texts, preserved perfectly for 16 centuries, is the exact method Jesus taught for activating the light body. Tonight you're learning that method, not theory, not metaphor. The actual step-by-step process that turns your light body from dormant potential into active reality. And once it activates, once you feel it switch on for the first time, you'll understand why the Archons fear this more than any prayer or protection ritual you could ever perform. Because they don't just lose access to you, they lose the ability to perceive that you exist. If you're activating your light body tonight, comment, "I am light right now." Before I give you the activation technique, you need to understand what the light body actually is. Because the church taught it as metaphor, they turned it into poetic language about spiritual purity or moral goodness, but the Gnostics weren't speaking metaphorically. They were describing an actual, energetic structure that exists in the same space as your physical body, but operates at a completely different frequency. Think of it like this. Your physical body is dense matter. Atoms vibrating slowly enough to appear solid. But those atoms are mostly empty space. 99.99% of every atom is emptiness, and in that emptiness is energy, not potential energy, actual energy vibrating at frequencies your physical senses can't detect. That energy isn't random, it's structured, it has form. And that form is what the Gnostics called the light body, the same shape as your physical body. The same height, the same proportions, but made of light instead of matter. Science is just now beginning to confirm what the mystics knew 3,000 years ago. The human body generates a measurable electromagnetic field. You can photograph it. You can detect it with instruments. And that field isn't just surrounding your body. It's interpenetrating your body, occupying the same space. And when that field reaches a certain intensity, when it stabilizes at a specific frequency, it becomes coherent enough to function independently of the physical body. That's the light body activating, not metaphor, actual energetic structure coming online. And here's why the Archons cannot touch you once it activates. They exist in frequencies denser than pure light, but less dense than physical matter. They operate in what the Gnostics called the lower astral planes, realms of emotional and psychic energy where fear and desire and pain generate the density they need to maintain form. But the light body operates above that range. It vibrates at a frequency closer to source consciousness, closer to the monad. And entities operating in lower frequencies cannot perceive or interact with anything vibrating above their range. It's not that you're protected from them, it's that you're invisible to them. They're scanning for the electromagnetic signature of a human operating in survival consciousness. Fear-based, reactive, emotionally dense. That's the frequency they can detect and attach to. But when your light body activates, your primary frequency shifts. You're still here, still in physical form, but your energetic signature is broadcasting from the light body now, and that signature doesn't register on their detection systems. You've moved out of their perceptual range, and what they can't perceive, they can't harvest. Jesus taught the activation method in stages because the light body doesn't turn on all at once. It activates in layers, and if you try to force the entire structure online before your physical nervous system can handle the frequency, you'll blow circuits. You'll experience what mystics call spiritual emergency, psychic overwhelm, energetic destabilization. So the method Jesus taught is gradual, safe. It builds the light body layer by layer over a period of 7 to 21 days, depending on how prepared your system already is. And the first layer is the easiest to activate because it's already partially online in most chosen ones. You've been accessing it without realizing what you're doing. The first layer is the etheric body. This is the energetic layer closest to physical matter. It sits about 1 to 3 inches outside your skin, and it's the template your physical body uses to maintain its structure. When you get injured, when you cut yourself or break a bone, the etheric body holds the pattern of what wholeness looks like, and your physical body rebuilds toward that pattern. That's why you heal into the same shape you were before. The etheric template is guiding the reconstruction. Most people's etheric body is dim. It's there. It's functioning, but it's not consciously activated. It runs on autopilot in the background, keeping your physical body stable. But chosen ones can bring it under conscious control. And once you do, once you learn to feel the etheric layer and direct energy through it intentionally, the foundation for full light body activation is set. Here's how you activate the etheric layer starting tonight. You're going to lie down or sit comfortably in a quiet space. No distractions, no music, just silence. And you're going to bring your attention to your hands, not thinking about your hands. Feeling your hands from the inside. Notice the sensation of aliveness in your palms, the tingling, the warmth, the subtle vibration that's always there, but you usually ignore. That sensation is etheric energy. It's the etheric body becoming perceptible to your conscious awareness. Stay with that sensation. Don't try to intensify it. Just notice it, and as you notice it, it will naturally begin to amplify. The tingling will spread, the warmth will increase, and you'll start to feel your hands not as solid objects, but as fields of energy shaped like hands. Once you can feel that clearly, expand your awareness to your arms. Feel the etheric energy in your forearms, your elbows, your upper arms. Same technique. You're not visualizing, you're not imagining. You're feeling the actual energetic sensation that's already present. And as your attention moves through your body, the etheric layer lights up. It comes online. You'll feel it in your torso, your legs, your head, and within 10 to 15 minutes of sustained attention, your entire etheric body will be consciously active. You'll feel yourself as a field of energy in the shape of your physical body, and that's the first layer activated. The reason this works so reliably is that attention is the tool that activates energy. Where you place your attention, energy follows. And sustained attention on the etheric body forces it to come into conscious awareness. It can't stay in the background anymore. You've brought it forward. And once it's forward, once you felt it clearly even one time, you can return to that state at will. The etheric body doesn't deactivate. It just becomes easier and easier to access. And that accessibility is what allows the second layer to come online. The second layer is the emotional body. And this is where most people get stuck because the emotional body carries all the unprocessed pain you've been avoiding, every fear you suppressed, every grief you didn't allow yourself to feel, every anger you swallowed. It's all stored in the emotional body as density, and that density blocks light. The Archons know this. They know that if they can keep your emotional body clogged with unprocessed trauma, your light body will never fully activate. So they engineer situations specifically designed to create emotional wounds you won't heal. Betrayals, losses, humiliations, not random, targeted. They're filling your emotional body with dense energy that keeps your frequency low enough for them to harvest. But here's what Jesus taught the chosen ones about clearing the emotional body. You don't heal it by processing every trauma individually. That takes lifetimes. You heal it by flooding it with light from the etheric layer. Once your etheric body is active, once you can feel it clearly, you direct that energy into the emotional body intentionally. And the light doesn't fight the density, it transmutes it. It raises the frequency of the stored emotion until it's no longer pain, it's just energy. Here's the technique. You activate your etheric body first. You feel the tingling aliveness in your hands and expand it through your entire body until you're perceiving yourself as a field of energy. Then you bring your attention to your chest, your heart center, and you notice what's there emotionally. Don't go searching for specific traumas. Just notice what the emotional body is holding right now in this moment. Sadness, anxiety, anger, numbness. Whatever is present, you're not trying to change it, you're just acknowledging it. And as you acknowledge it, as you allow it to be felt without resistance, you simultaneously feel the etheric energy in that same area, the tingling aliveness in your chest, and you let them exist together, the emotion and the light. You're not using the light to push the emotion away. You're letting the light interpenetrate the emotion. And as the two frequencies meet, something happens automatically. The density begins to dissolve. Not because you're forcing it, because light naturally raises the frequency of anything it touches. The emotion doesn't disappear, it transforms, it becomes lighter, less solid. And within 5 to 10 minutes, the emotional charge that was there will have decreased by half or more. You do this daily, 10 minutes a day. And over the course of 7 to 14 days, the emotional body clears, not completely, but enough. Enough that light can move through it. And once light can move through the emotional body, the third layer comes online automatically. The third layer is the mental body. This is where your thoughts generate, where beliefs form, where the narratives you tell yourself about reality get constructed. And just like the emotional body, the mental body in most humans is clogged with density, not emotions, thought forms, repetitive loops, limiting beliefs, programmed narratives installed by the Archons through culture, religion, education, media, every thought you think you're choosing but didn't actually originate with you. Those thought forms create structure in the mental body, and that structure filters what you're able to perceive. If you have a belief that you're powerless, that belief exists as an actual energetic structure in your mental body, and it blocks any information that contradicts it. You won't see opportunities. You won't recognize your own capacity, not because you're blind, because the mental body is filtering reality through the structure of that belief. Jesus taught that the mental body clears through a process the Gnostics called recognition. You don't fight your thoughts. You don't try to replace negative beliefs with positive ones. You recognize which thoughts are yours and which thoughts are implants. And the moment you recognize a thought as an implant, as something that was placed in your mental body by external programming, it loses power. It can't function as a filter anymore because you've seen it. And what you see clearly, you're no longer controlled by. The technique is simple. You sit in silence with your etheric body active and your emotional body clearing. And you watch your thoughts, not meditating, not trying to quiet the mind, just watching. And as thoughts arise, you ask one question: is this mine? Not where did it come from? Not is this true, just is this thought mine or is it something I was taught? And 90% of the time, you'll recognize immediately that the thought isn't yours. It's a script, a program, a belief you absorbed from someone else. And the moment you recognize that, the thought loses its solidity, it becomes transparent. You can still think it if you choose, but it no longer thinks itself through you automatically. Over 7 days of watching your thoughts with this one question, the mental body begins to clear. The program structures dissolve, and space opens, space where new thoughts can form. Thoughts that actually originate with you, with your consciousness, not with the conditioning. And that space is what allows the fourth layer to activate. The fourth layer is the astral body. And this is the layer most people mistake for the full light body because it's the first layer that can separate from the physical body and operate independently. When people have out-of-body experiences, or astral projection, or near-death experiences, where they see their body from above, they're operating in the astral body. But the astral body isn't the light body, it's a bridge. It operates at a higher frequency than the mental body, but lower than pure light. And it's still within the range the Archons can perceive. They can't fully control you when you're in astral form, but they can still see you. They can still interact with you. And if you're not careful, they can manipulate your astral experiences to keep you confused. Jesus taught that the astral body activates naturally once the first 3 layers are online. You don't force it, you just maintain the practice. Mental recognition. And somewhere between day 7 and day 14, you'll have an experience where you feel yourself expanding beyond your physical body, not leaving it, expanding beyond it. You'll feel like you're larger than your skin. Like your awareness extends 3 feet in every direction. That's the astral body coming online. And once it's active, once you can feel yourself as a field that extends beyond physical boundaries, you're ready for the final layer. The layer the Archons actually fear, the causal body, the true light body. The causal body is the innermost layer, the one closest to source consciousness. And it operates at a frequency so high that nothing in the demiurge's creation can interact with it. Not Archons, not the demiurge itself, because the causal body isn't part of the material creation. It's the piece of the monad that descended into form. It's your actual identity. The consciousness that existed before you were born and will continue after this body dies. And when the causal body activates, when it becomes your primary point of identification instead of the physical body, you're untouchable. Not because you're defended, because you're no longer operating in the frequency range where attacks are possible. Jesus taught that the causal body activates through a single shift in perception. You stop identifying as the body that contains consciousness, and you start identifying as the consciousness that's inhabiting a body temporarily. That shift sounds simple, but it's the hardest part of the process because your entire life, you've been conditioned to believe you are the body. You are the name. You are the story. And letting that go feels like dying. Because it is. It's the death of the false self, the constructed identity, the person you thought you were. But on the other side of that death is the recognition of what you actually are. Infinite consciousness, the monad experiencing itself in temporary form. And that recognition is what activates the causal body. Here's how Jesus taught it. Once your etheric, emotional, mental, and astral bodies are all online, once you can feel yourself as a multi-layered field of energy, you sit in silence and you ask one question. Who is aware of all of this? Not what am I? Who is aware? And you don't answer with words. You feel into the question. You turn your attention back on itself. You look for the awareness that's noticing the body, noticing the thoughts, noticing the emotions. And when you find it, when you locate the awareness that's watching everything, you'll realize something shocking. It has no location. It's not in your head, it's not in your heart, it's everywhere and nowhere. It's the space in which everything is happening. And the moment you recognize that, the moment you identify as that awareness instead of as the body or mind it's watching, the causal body activates. And the shift is unmistakable. You'll feel a sudden expansion, like you just stepped out of a tight suit you'd been wearing your entire life. You'll feel lighter, freer, and you'll see the physical body and the mental chatter and the emotional fluctuations as something you're witnessing, not something you are. And that witnessing consciousness, that's the light body. That's what the Archons cannot touch, because they operate by attacking identity. They attack your sense of being a separate, vulnerable individual. But when your identity shifts to the witnessing consciousness, there's nothing for them to attack. You're not an individual anymore. You're the infinite experiencing individuality, and they can't harvest the infinite. Once the light body fully activates, once all 5 layers are online and your primary identification has shifted to the causal body, you don't lose access to physical reality. You don't disappear. You're still here, still functioning, still interacting. But your experience of reality changes completely. You move through the world, but you're not of it anymore. You see through the illusions. You recognize the Archons when they're present. You perceive the manipulation attempts in real time, and none of it affects you. Not because you're defending against it, because it's not landing. It's like rain hitting a surface that water can't stick to. The attacks are happening, but they're sliding off. And the Archons, sensing that their attacks aren't working, eventually stop targeting you. You're no longer generating the frequency they feed on. You're no longer a viable harvest source. And their attention redirects to easier targets. People still operating in fear consciousness. People still identified with the body and the story. Jesus taught this method to the inner circle because he knew they'd need it to survive after he was gone. He knew the Archons would come after them with everything: persecution, torture, execution. And the only way to endure that without breaking was to activate the light body, to identify so completely with the eternal consciousness that the death of the physical body became irrelevant. Not easy, not painless, but irrelevant, and that's exactly what happened. The early Christians who received this teaching went to their deaths without fear. Not because they believed in an afterlife, because they knew they weren't the body dying. They were the consciousness that couldn't die, and the Romans executing them could sense that knowing. They could see it in their eyes, and it terrified them, because the torture wasn't working, the fear mechanism wasn't triggering. These people had activated something the empire couldn't touch. And that's why the church had to erase this teaching, because citizens who know their eternal consciousness cannot be controlled through fear. And the entire system of religious and political control depends on fear: the fear of death, the fear of punishment, the fear of losing what you think you are. But the light body activation removes that fear permanently, not because you're braver, because you know what you actually are, and what you actually are cannot be threatened. The technique Jesus taught is this: 7 days minimum, 21 days optimal. Every night before sleep, 10 to 15 minutes, you activate the etheric body. You feel the energy in your hands and expand it through your whole body. You bring that energy into your chest and let it meet whatever emotion is stored there. You watch your thoughts and ask, "Is this mine?" And you feel yourself expanding beyond the boundaries of your physical form. You do this every night, and somewhere between day 7 and day 21, you'll have the moment, the shift, where you recognize you're not the person doing the practice. You're the awareness watching the person do the practice. And in that moment, the light body activates, and you're free, not metaphorically free, actually free. Free from the fear of death, free from Archon manipulation, free from the harvest system, because you're no longer operating in the frequency range where any of that can reach you. Jesus gave this teaching to the chosen ones 2,000 years ago. The church burned the texts, but they didn't burn the technique. And tonight you have it. The exact method: etheric activation, emotional clearing, mental recognition, astral expansion, causal identification. 7 to 21 days, 10 minutes a night, and your light body comes online. If you're starting the activation tonight, do 3 things right now. First, comment, "I am light" below. Declare your frequency. Second, subscribe to this channel because the advanced light body techniques are coming next. Third, like this video so other chosen ones find this before the Archons suppress it again. Do all 3 now. Then tonight, lie down in silence. Feel the energy in your hands. Expand it through your body. And begin. The light body is waiting. It's been waiting your entire life. And tonight is the night you turn it on. You're not becoming something new. You're remembering what you've always been. And the Archons cannot touch what you actually are. You're untouchable. You're light.